Welcome to this week's edition of Prep Zone Extra Points, sponsored by John Hoffer Jeep Chrysler. This week featuring Rick Peterson, Tim Bisel, and Brent Maycock.
Hey high school sports fans, welcome to another edition of Extra Points. I'm Tim Bisel, the executive sports editor here at the Topeka Capital-Journal and CJ Online. Once again, joined by our prep experts, Brent Maycock and Rick Peterson. Bisel, you've had just a short 16-hour day today, right?
Yeah. Had a nice trip up to Kansas City for NASCAR and then back to see a heck of a game. So I'm glad I did get to come back and watch that Washburn Royal Seaman game. Very good game, 34-27, all kinds of scoring, like 3 scores in the last 5:50 or something. So it was a good game.
We'll start right there with that game. You guys both are really struggling when it comes to picking compelling games of the week, I see. Let's start with the city game of the week, though.
Well, it was 34-27, as we said. Seaman, Dalton Cowan with a big passing night, 222 of 29, which is probably the impressive thing, for 227 yards. And he scored, hit his receiver, Jansen Garman, for the game winner. Scored with 14 seconds left from 42 yards out. Everybody thought they were playing for the field goal, and I thought they were playing for the field goal. And but they saw an opening and went for it and scored the game-winning touchdown. Came back from a 14-0 deficit. Their defense scored or forced a couple of turnovers, got 10 points out of that. And Seaman's just playing pretty inspired football right now and pretty opportunistic football right now. And after going 2-8 last year, they're 6-1, and they got going.
Glenn O'Neill may want to run for mayor of Topeka or something. He's kind of come in and just taken this town by storm. It looks
at least
like.
North Topeka.
North Topeka, right.
The guy can coach a little bit, I think.
And you mentioned Dalton Cowan, back-to-back really nice weeks for him. He was our city player of the week this week, or athlete of the week this week, and as you said earlier, another great outing.
Yeah, and I'm guessing Emporia State's kind of salivating at the chance of getting him in a uniform next year, because he does a lot of things well. One, he seems to hold his cool well. Two, I think he's got and Coach O'Neill said the other day, he's got a college type arm. He can go and throw clear across the field. He can throw deep. He can hit the short routes, and and they'll get him in the weight room. They'll get him stronger, and I think he's got a good college career ahead of him. And a couple other things, he's also got great receivers, and that helps a little.
Absolutely. I think a big thing is that their line this year has played well. Last year they lost Bailey Kelly before the season to an injury. They lost a couple guys real early, so he spent the rest of last year just kind of running for his life back there, and it just made it's just hard to run an offense that way. And the line has kind of come together this year, and he's shown that if you give me some time, we got some guys that can do some things offensively.
Absolutely. Real quickly, in Rule's losing effort, I noticed that Hunter Browning had a really nice game as well, 171 rushing yards and a couple of TDs.
Yes, he did, and their sophomore quarterback, Jordan White, also had 91 yards on 18 carries. So they moved the ball. They didn't play that badly defensively, except for they gave up the big passes. And the 2 turnovers really hurt them.
Absolutely. Well, Brent, your game wasn't decided in the final 14 seconds. Yeah, it was the real yawner here. It just decided with, what,
57 seconds
57 seconds to go.
Yeah.
How about your area game of the week?
Well, it's just kind of followed the trend of every area game of the week I've had this week, and even the one I didn't get to go cover last week in Junction City and Manhattan. That was a game all the way down to the final minute, and every one of my area games this year has come down to fourth quarter plays and teams having to make plays, and Nemaha Central down 14-7 going into the last period, and they're defensively they played well the last quarter. They gave up 290 some yards in the first 3 quarters, and then hold Sabetha to -5 yards in the fourth quarter. So their defense really tightened up, played opportunistic, kept the ball on the Sabetha side of the field, and their offense didn't score every time the defense set them up, but they got the 2 that counted, including the game winner on a flanker reverse. And they kind of went to a little trickery there at the end of the game. They had a flanker pass for the touchdown that tied the game, and then a flanker reverse for the game winner, and that's because Sabetha's front line was really keying on Ryan Hazenkamp. He didn't have a big night passing the ball, but he had probably one of his best rushing nights he's had in his career. So it was a really good ball game between 2 arch rivals. We've had, this is the 3rd straight week we've had an arch rivalry game where both teams came in undefeated. Manhattan, Junction City the week before that. The week before that was Silver Lake Rossville, and all the games kind of lived up to the billing. And
Nemaha Central, I see, wraps up the Big 7 title.
Yeah, they've got a couple district games left against teams that they should handle, and that pretty much clinched it for them right there. Them and Sabetha had a 2-game lead on anybody else, and so even if they stumble, they'll still have the tiebreaker over Sabetha to win the title.
Very good. In other city action tonight, Hayden defeated Santa Fe Trail 27-6. Thomas Stringer had another nice night. 3 rushing touchdowns as the Wildcats overcame 9 penalties to win their district opener against previously unbeaten Santa Fe Trail team. Good win for the Wildcats there. Topeka High, 62, Topeka West 7. This game was over virtually from the start. Kai Thomas threw a 45-yard touchdown pass to Keaton Gage on the Trojans' first play, and High never really looked back after that. The Trojans finished with 601 total yards, including 424 on the ground, and Kai Thomas was a huge part of that with 228 on 16 carries. And finally tonight, Shawnee Heights 18, Highland Park 6. Heights picks up its 2nd win of the season behind 300-yard rushing attack that was paced by Christian Clark's 124-yard game. That will bring us to our points of emphasis segment. Pistol, we will start with you tonight. What jumps out at you? What you like to talk about?
Well, I think that Hayden's what I would like to talk about, and the fact that they were 1-4, and people were kind of thinking, oh gosh, Hayden's really down. But once they get into 4A district play and 4A Division II in this case, and going up against an undefeated team, but they show that they're still Hayden and still find a way to get it done in the postseason. And in my mind, 4A district is a postseason, and they have a great, huge game coming up next week with Holton. And the thing about Hayden is they've been struck with the penalty bug all year, and they gotta cut that out. And they've made some mistakes that they're not typical Hayden type plays. And they're going to have to get that straightened out. But they still got a great running attack. They'd like to shore up their passing attack a little bit, but the fact is, they're still Hayden.
Yeah, Bill Arnold mentioned the penalties tonight, called the game a little bit sloppy, I believe is how he referred to it. What about your points of emphasis tonight?
I think the more I've been thinking about it, I really like the new format that we have set up for 6A and 5A, where we're not bound by districts to kind of see how things are going to shake out. And it's kind of interesting to see, all right, Topeka High won tonight, Washburn Rural lost tonight. Where does that shake out? And it doesn't handcuff teams who are geographically close that are good, and because that's still the case when you get down to 4A and 3A. 4A, here Santa Fe Trail is, they lose tonight, they're probably not going to make the playoffs unless they upset Holton. And yet you look at the district right next door where we started this evening, where 3 teams were winless, including 2 Santa Fe Trail had beaten pretty handily, and 1 had 1 win, and that was against another team that was a winless team. And yet two of those teams are going to make the playoffs, and here Santa Fe Trail probably going to end up the season 7-2 and sitting at home and see not just 1 or 2, but maybe 4 or 5 teams with sub 500 records get in. And it's that way in 3A too, where you have Conway Springs beats Garden Plain tonight. Garden Plain goes into that game undefeated. Now their back's against the wall because they're going to play undefeated Chaparral and 2-loss Cheney, who had 1 loss going into district play tonight. And then again, the district right next door had 2 winless teams and 2 sub 500 teams in it. And here's 4 teams in this one district, all very good playoff capable type teams. Yep. But because of the geography of it all, they're not going to make it. And so like at least with the 6A and 5A, everybody's going to have a chance. And your good teams are going to be paired up and everything, and it's fun to kind of see the movement and okay, who would Seaman play if they win, or where's their position going to be. And tonight Seaman gets a big help from Blue Valley Southwest, which was winless, and they upset Aquinas tonight, and that takes Aquinas to a 2-loss team on the East in 5A, and that keeps Seaman, if they can win out next week, they might be the 1 or 2 seed in the East. Right. Come playoff time.
Yeah, I was going to mention that every week I hear you and Pistol kind of going over the 6A, 5A rankings and where everybody's kind of standing and who's in solid position for a home game and who needs a little bit of help and all those things. That does make it pretty intriguing. The other thing I like about it, too, is every game matters now. I mean, you start from day one knowing that you need to compile some type of record if you want a home game.
I just don't know why we have 5 or 6 different systems
Yeah.
in play. So let's get it. If it's good for one and it works for one, let's try it for some other classes.
Well, especially 4A is set up now with the 2 divisions. They're set up with the same 32 team classes that 6A and 5A have. So why can't we use the same format as 6A and 5A in 4A? It just doesn't make any sense.
That's the Activities Association sometimes, unfortunately.
It is.
But we only have one system here, and our time's up. So that'll do it for us, folks. Once again, we appreciate you joining us. Log on to CJ Online and PrepZone.com for all your prep coverage. Thanks again.